All right, we are live, and the New York Mets, I think, hit rock bottom this weekend. The New York Mets hit rock bottom. The 2023 New York Mets have hit rock bottom. I will never say that was rock bottom for this franchise because there have been some rocky bottoms over the years. However, it's me and Meek Phil. It's Clem and the Meek Phil. We gotta believe. Podcast, Barstool Sports. That's right. Me and the Meek Man are here, and we are going to discuss a goddamn travesty that we saw in person. You know, I love it. I love my football scores, and I got to see one in person when the Atlanta Braves put up 3 touchdowns on the New York Metropolitans, including 8 on poor Danny Mendick. Welcome to fucking Flushing, my friend. And that was Barstool at the ballpark. We had the Braves get the shit out of us on Friday night with an anemic offense. What was it? 17 base runners, the most ever to not score a run.
I think it was 9 hits, seven walks, and there was a hit by pitch mixed in there. So yeah, that's just 17.
Yeah, so I think it was that combo, the most that has ever happened without scoring a run. At some point, you think the math, you'd be able to just get one person across the plate. The New York Mets did not do it on Friday night. On Saturday night, they did not score a run. On Saturday day, during our Barstool at the ballpark, they did get a field goal. They got the 3 runs, and then obviously one on Sunday night. But we have entered the part where our minds are in Kunsalina. And like we always say, to get us through that, you got to get yourself your Coors Light. Everyone thinks about the day they'll eventually get to retire and enjoy all the freedom that comes with it. If you want to just get away mentally from the Mets, they can't hurt you anymore. Grab yourself an ice cold Coors Light. The Blue Mountains will put you in the blue and orange heaven that was last year before the end of September. And take advantage of that free will and spend the summers chilling like a retiree and pair those moments with Coors Light, the beer that's made to chill. Some people would say that this team is actually giving us the perfect summer because you don't have to worry about baseball anymore. If your team is like a runaway train like the Braves, you could just be like, oh, put a pin in it. We'll come back in October. Then we get to have our fun again. Or you just don't have to worry about baseball anymore. It's perfect for all your summer plans or lack thereof. No judgment here. So this summer, chill like you're retired with Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/believe. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And I got to shout out everyone at Barstool, the ballpark, that was responsibly drinking their Coors Light and hanging out. We had a crew that was there for all 9 Grizzly innings on Saturday. Phil was there on Friday night. How was Friday night, Phil? How was the vibes on Friday night during that 17 base runner apocalypse?
People were drinking, and the baseball was bad. So
drink until the official line for Barstool at the ballpark. We have one more coming September 30th. I believe against the Phillies, the last series of the season. And it's drink until they look good. Drink until the Mets look good. We got I've never seen the Syracuse Mets or the Binghamton Rumble Ponies play until this weekend. I got to see them live. We had Rafael Ortega, Abraham Almonte, and Jonathan Arouse? I don't even know. Aruz. You got to roll the R too. Ortega leading off. Almonte was the 6th hitter. It's again, basically a month or a year between that Jacob deGrom start against the Braves and then the goddamn travesty of this weekend. Nothing tells you how these two teams have changed more than this fucking series. So it was tough, Phil. It was tough, Philip.
And just think, that was the lineup that didn't get shut out.
Yeah, right.
That was the lineup that had 3 runs.
Oh man. So I guess if we want to recap the goddamn disaster that was this series, bad, worse, ugly. Quintana, I feel good about Quintana, so we're going to try to do the positive side, the spin zone side of things. Quintana looks good. He feels like a guy you can have around next season, sprinkled around 1-2 Japanese pitchers that may want to come here, join with our other bright light of the rotation, Kodai Senga. Those are 2 positive things that I think we can build on for next season. I am very happy Billy Epler did not trade away Quintana.
Yeah. I mean, Quintana and Senga, who have 2 starting pitchers locked in for next season. Where the other 3 are coming from, I do not know. Like you said, hopefully from Japan, one of them, and probably 2 other average to above average starting pitchers. So we have 2 starters.
Maybe Vassell comes up from the minors. You're trying to figure it out.
Do you
Scott
is cooking Double-A?
Who is?
Christian Scott. I think he has like a 2.7 ERA. I feel like every time Mike Mayer tweets about him, he has like 7 Ks or something.
That's the beautiful thing about the way the minor leagues. I don't know if it was always like this. I felt back in the day you look for the AAA stats, but I feel like AA is almost more impressive because you do have much more like the studs down there. Where in the
That's
AAA,
where the best players are. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of AAA is kind of quad A guys or the Luke Voits of the world, right? That are kind of the in between. But AA is where you're having the fucking young studs that might get called up. And I feel like the Marlins would always be that team that would just have this beast come out of AA, and it's like, oh, that guy's going to win Rookie of the Year. I think that's what I said. My prediction for Barstool Baseball, it was the NL East Rookie of the Year, and I said some guy in the Marlins AA that I've never heard of. And it could have been Yuri if he had stayed up longer.
Yeah, they manipulated his service time, so that didn't happen.
The goddamn Marlins, man. Also, got to shout out the Marlins here. I don't know what happened. I've kind of been in and out of baseball mode outside of the Mets. I had about, I think 10 tweets is where I hit. 10 tweets in a row of, oh my God, that's heartbreaking. The poor Yankees. This Yankees team is terrible. I'm never going to root for this franchise ever again. There was some heartbreak in the Bronx yesterday due to what happened in Miami. So it sounds like, I think it was like a 9th inning rally that happened down there.
They had a 7-1 lead at one point. It was 7-3 in the 9th. Clay Holmes gets knocked around. They bring in, I forgot who else. And yeah, it was a 5-run 9th inning for the Marlins, who took 2 out of 3 from them. The only teams the Yankees have won a series against since late June is the Oakland A's and the Kansas City Royals. So the Yankees' streak of like 30 consecutive winning seasons above 500's in jeopardy. Like they're 60-58 right now. They have 3 games versus the Braves, so I'm just chalking them up as being under 500 after that. No offense to the Yankees on that. That's just the Braves are that good. You're not winning a single game against them. I think every Yankee fan knows that.
It's almost amazing to me that at some point last year, it felt like we owned the Braves. And like it's almost the same team. I know now they have Murphy. I don't know how much of the other stuff changed. I know second base, they were, getting guys in and out with injuries and stuff like that. It's amazing how this team has just gone from very good to like murder ball, basically.
Pretty much every player on that Braves team, you look up and down their lineup, no one's having an average season. They're all playing incredible.
Yeah.
Like, there's nobody looking at the lineup. It's like, he's having a good year. All right. Like, no, this guy's an all-star. Like, all of them.
And part of me is like, wow, maybe it's just everything's come together. It's that magical season, blah, blah, blah. And then part of me is like, oh, fuck. Have they become the latest team to find it? Like the Dodgers have had an Infinity Stone for years. The Astros have had an Infinity Stone. And it's like, have the Braves, who've always been in the fucking mix. But it feels like this is another level here. This is dominance, 100+ wins, and even better than usual. I saw that Castellani blogged it yesterday. He's like, are the Atlanta Braves, the 2023 Atlanta Braves may be the best first inning team of all time. This year's Braves team came into last night averaging 0.97 runs per game. And they scored again last night too. So you're behind the 8 ball when it starts, because we know how it is to be on the other side with this shitty starting pitching when you go down in the first inning and how everything's a battle from there.
Pretty much, like he said, they're averaging almost a run a game in the first inning. Like that's just not normal.
That's not normal. And he was looking it up, and he said he went back. He said the Dodgers are averaging 0.77, so it's 0.2 runs less a game right off the bat for like the second best team this season. And he said the only teams that were close in whatever research he had, the 08 Mets, which I couldn't believe, and the 07 Tigers were both 0.86. So that's still like 0.1 runs less than this Braves team. So this team, man, it's not just us. Like it feels like this team is unstoppable because we've been chasing them and they've just been kicking dirt in our faces. This team is fucking like legendarily good, and it's fucking heartbreaking to see.
I mean, Frank DM'd me this morning. You hear a rumor that they hacked PitchCom, and I have to side with Frank on this. Like, that's enough evidence for me to open an investigation. If Frank is saying there's something to it, there has to be something.
So with Frank, there's 2 sides. Part of me is like, did Frank come up with this on his own? Because we know when his brain gets cooking, it can come up with conspiracy theories. Buster Olney doing the chop. Scott Van Pelt, he can just me and the Dragons. He can go on his rants. But then there are people who will DM Frank or even just tweet something like the Braves have hacked PitchCom. That person will have 7 followers and like an egg emoji, and he'll be going, oh my God, this is like a confirmed report from fucking Passan himself. But at this point, Like, fucking launch an investigation on it. This team, we know that they had their issue with the international signings years ago. This fucking team is rotten maybe from the top on down. A bunch of cheaters. A tiger does not change its stripes. So maybe Frank's onto something here, which I can't believe I'm saying on the podcast, but that's where we have gone this season as I'm now listening to Frank the Tank conspiracy theories along the way. God damn it. I hate this fucking team, Phil. Let's move along here to when there's blood in the water, that's when the New York media will start acting like sharks. And we had Mike Puma wrote an article here saying, what caused this entire season to fall apart. Obviously, the team is all but dead, so let's conduct the autopsy, even if like the heartbeat is still pounding until October 1st. So we had a few things here. First of all, Justin Verlander is a diva. According to an unnamed Met, I believe, Justin Verlander is a diva. Him and Scherzer did not like each other, and he called the Mets analytics department basura compared to the Astros, calling it straight up garbage.
Now, we're pretty much in agreement that unnamed Met is Max Scherzer. Like,
yes.
Because that article is written in a way to make Max seem like a good guy and Verlander seem like a bad guy. And then I think it was Nemo's wife came out and said it's like Verlander would have like team dinners with the team and like bonded with them. Didn't seem like a guy that was detached from the team. So that just came to me as Max Scherzer just crying to the New York media saying, like, hey, I wasn't the bad guy over there. It was the other guy. And even before Verlander signed, like there were rumors that him and Max weren't really the best of friends in Detroit. They kind of ate each other. And we never heard them having a good relationship in New York. So that kind of really was all you had to hear about it. It's like, if there's nothing good to be said, there's probably nothing good there. Yeah.
And from the outside looking in, it definitely seemed like Verlander was all right. Maybe, a guy who pitches with like a 1.6 ERA for 7 starts, he's fucking cool with me, whether or not he's a diva in the locker room. But again, if Nimmo's wife is already coming out and saying, hey, that's not the case. And even if it's like just the good players liked Max Scherzer or Justin Verlander, if it's like
we have
he
good
was just
players.
Yeah, he said this all three of them, all three of the good players we have on our team, even if they said that. Like even if Verlander was just hosting parties for like the starters, fine. Like those were the guys that suck for us. So as long as they're fine with it, I still come back to the I thought I was going to get a juicy nugget about the Lindor McNeil stuff because ever since that car thing and the raccoon stuff, I'm still kind of nitpicking for it. Nothing there. But we did get a little bit of a light shined on why Starling Marte has been a fucking disaster this season to the point where he was crying, sliding back to first because his groin was in such tattered shape at this point. That's not good. I'm just going to go ahead and say that's not good.
I don't understand how they've let him play all season like this. It seems like there's like a disconnect between what the players saying, what the team is saying. I think there's still a good player in there for next season, and this year was just an injury-plagued year. But, I mean, if you had eyeballs, you knew Starling Marte was not himself this season. Like, he was consistently, I think it was like, 13 years or whatever, like 10 years of like 270 average or higher.
Yep.
That wasn't even close this year.
Yeah. And whether Marte is back in the lineup this year or next year, that's the first thing. I don't want to see Starling Marte in the lineup again this season. Let this guy fully rest up, healthy, preferably around the Mets doctors, which was the other part of the story. He went back home after the surgery instead of being around the team. I think if you're cashing the check from the Mets, you should recover around the Mets and like make sure we can go through that everything is ready to go, especially after a season like this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then the last part of this all was what was the third part? We had the Marte stuff.
Lindor said that one of the reasons that they didn't really bond together this year is because they didn't, like last year when they had those hit by pitches in Washington and St. Louis, the whole scrap, that like made them closer as a team. And I do kind of understand what he's saying this year. Like last year, every time we had a hit by pitch, I said, why would Panda Buck Showalter? There'd be some like rumbling in the dugout. This year was like really nothing. Like the vibe just wasn't there.
The vibe wasn't there from the jump. Now, was there anything, Phil? You have a much better memory than I do. Was there anything that took place in spring training that would have had these guys not being together, just, getting the beats back? Hey, everyone's feeling good after 101 wins. Granted, it ended in fucking 3 games, the catastrophe against the Padres. Was there anything that took place in, say, March that could have prevented these guys from hanging out?
the greatest baseball tournament that only happens once every 4 years. The guys didn't have time to bond in spring training or learn the new rules, so they came out the gate slow. And you're seeing it. Like you saw it this year.
You saw it.
Look, I'm not saying you have to hate the WBC or anything. It's like if you think that didn't have an impact on how the season played out, like it just didn't watch.
Especially when you hear other teams saying the same thing. So it's not just us heartless Mets fans that hate the world, and Kevin who's racist because he doesn't like the WBC. All the takes that we had when everyone's brains have just turned to mush being online too much. I think that's very fair.
Like, you see that the Cardinals had 1 billion guys in the WBC. They are incredibly disappointing. The White Sox, incredibly disappointing. Like, maybe these teams are just bad because they're bad, but they didn't have time to really gel in spring training and have a normal spring.
Yeah, and baseball does seem like one of the sports where that stuff really does make a difference. So I don't know. If I was an expert at baseball, I wouldn't be fucking grinding away these podcasts in the middle of August. We're trying to just get through this fucking just absolute hellhole of a season, but we're doing it together. That's all right. We're going to do it together. The other thing about the Verlander stuff that kind of like caught heat, Justin Verlander saying the Mets analytics team isn't nearly as good as the Astros analytics team. Of course. If you thought the Mets analytics team is in the same stratosphere of basically any team's analytics team is in the same stratosphere as the Astros, other than like maybe the Dodgers, the Braves. I know the Yankees have been known to have a good one. Like, you haven't been paying attention. I don't think the Wilpons still know what the word analytics means, and they owned a fucking baseball team for years.
And look, I don't put that as a slight on Verlander. I think it's good that he was questioning the analytics department and saying it's like, this needs to be better, this needs to be better. That's perfectly fine because it should be better. But like, it's not surprising that they're not close to using, because Houston's had a head start on everyone when it comes to this, along with the cheating, but still.
Yeah, the Astros do whatever it takes to win. They made that very clear when they won those World Series, and that's why Jose Altuve gets booed at every stadium he goes to. And it's also part of the reason why I think Cohen loved fucking Beltran and wanted him to be a manager here, because he was a part of that system. And the more guys you can get from places that have won and have like pushed the limits. Our boy Stevie pushed the limits. The SEC knows more than anybody in the world. I hope he saw this report. I don't know how much this is in his radar. If he gets like a New York Post report, or if he even talked to Verlander on like a, dinner. I know he'd take guys out to dinner, or even after he left, and Verlander's like, by the way, your analytics department needs some work. That's good. Steve's going to fix the problem. He's going to fix the problem with money and brains, and so will David Stearns. David Stearns, Harvard guy, going to say that every time just so we remember that he's a Harvard guy, a smart man, a learned man. Look, fucking Riggs is a Harvard guy. Look what he has fucking foreplay. The guy has a multi-million boondoggle taking place every single day. He's living the dream all of us would love to have. So I think we're going to be all right, Phil. And you're kind of the Houston guy. So every time we say, put him in the Houston machine, if they can't fix him, he's broken. I feel like being a silver medalist, bronze medalist to Houston, the Dodgers, whoever else you want to throw in there, is something I can live with for now. 5 years, 10 years from now, once the infrastructure is built, then we can start worrying about being in an arms race with them.
Yeah, I do not care how many World Series the Astros win for a while. Like, they can win this year, I'm not fazed. They can win next year, I really don't care.
Yeah, I actually, again, the Astros I consider an ally to the New York Metropolitans franchise, because they took the Yankees down when the Yankees were hot in 17, and obviously last year and some other times. They took down the Phillies when the Phillies looked like that,
The only thing I'll get mad at them for is just not being the Braves.
Yeah.
Because if they beat the Braves, I would be so much happier in life, but they didn't.
And like, this isn't the Braves with Olsen and fucking Murphy and everyone going yard. It was Soler and who was the fucking other guy? The guy that you love,
Jock. Oh, no, Adam Duvall.
Adam Duvall
for so many years now.
Phil is a diehard Adam. We're going to get Adam Duvall, and he will be on the last legs of his last legs.
Yeah, we'll get him when he's, like, bad. Like, I've been asking for him for, like, maybe 3 or 4 years at this point.
God damn it. But I'm perfectly fine with this. And, again, there's a chance where in 5-10 years we look back at all the things we said about Steve Cohen, we look like absolute fools, but I truly think he's going to fix the problem. So that's just me putting the takes on the record there. The smart guys you can buy with money, I trust the money guy who is smart to get that kind of shit done. And hack PitchCom. If the Braves aren't hacking PitchCom, I want the Mets to hack PitchCom. People are like, oh, are you upset? What are you going to say to Yankees fans if the Mets buy their World Series? I'm going to say, the Mets are the fucking World Series, you loser. Get your loser team to do the same. Like, that's how it should be. You should say it to every fan base. The Yankees fans who apologize for that shit were the crazy ones, in my opinion. You were fucking winning World Series and having the greatest memories of your life. Why the fuck would you ever apologize for that shit? I'll never understand it, man. Moving on to the future, we're gonna have a new segment here. I'm trying to think. Do we call it Prospect Phil or Farmer Phil? Phil on the farm. There's a lot of different ways we can go with this. I'm basically gonna have Phil, just like you said, probably just go through Michael Mayer and Joe DeMayo's tweets and just tell me, Phil, after this weekend of since we last filmed our pod, over this weekend, why should I have hope for the New York Mets future? Because the guys that are already on the New York Mets didn't give me a whole hell of a lot to fucking get excited about.
Okay. Well, they have 5 prospects and they'll be top 100, so that's good to hear.
Nice.
I'm just going to scroll through Mike Mayer's timeline, just read off some things. Joe Williams is one of those 5 players in the top 100. He has a 462 on base percentage in Brooklyn in 12 games. And I guess through rookie ball in Brooklyn, he has 37 stolen bases. So he seems like a 50-50 guy if he could, well, maybe 80 stolen bases, 10 homers, maybe.
Hey, it's like he could become like the Century Club, 10 home runs, 90 stolen bases. It's still 100 like cool ass things he could do in a baseball season, right? That's all you can have. So I'm reading this correctly. So he has so he has 79, he has 80, I'm sorry, like Mike friend says here, 91 games, 37 steals this season between A and A plus ball. So that's pretty fucking good. His name is Jet Williams. And the fact he has an extra T in Jet makes me like him even more.
Mm-hmm. His name is Jet, and he steals bases. That's perfect.
Like if this guy was named Benny, we call him Benny the Jet, right? But his fucking name is Jet. It's incredible.
He's Jet the Jet. Or actually, not Jet. Well, yeah, Jet the Met. Jet the Jet the Met.
Jet the Met. I'm thinking T-shirts. I'm thinking all that kind of stuff. And his legitimate name. Oh, wait, no. He was born Anthabel. No, this is someone else. I was going to say. Let's see. He was born Jet Williams, right? This isn't like a nickname?
Yeah, he came out the room and they said, oh, let's call him Jet.
They said that kid has 80 fucking base running speed, and he is now ours. So there you go. Number 1 on the list. Jet Williams, our 2026 stolen base champion.
Nate Lavender in Syracuse. He has 46 strikeouts and 30 2/3 innings this year. That could be a good lefty arm out the pen for next season if we trade Brooks Raley.
Nate Lavender. That
sounds interesting.
The Mets are drafting like how I would draft. You draft the name as much as you do the stats when it comes to baseball players. And Nate Lavender just sounds like a dude like, oh, like the headlines of the Post would be like, Nate Lavender, smooth out of the pen or something like that, right? Like I'm thinking of this in terms of how we consume our shit. So yeah, he went from AA to AAA this year, 1.7 ERA in AA, 2.93 in AAA, K per 9, 16.5, 13.5. All right, so we're cooking something here with Nate Lavender. Jet Williams, Nate Lavender, 2A plus names, 2A plus guys.
Drew Gilbert on Saturday night. We got gone for Justin Verlander, 2 for 3 with a walk and a stolen base. Drew Gilbert, that's another good name. Went to Tennessee, went to I don't want to say a winning baseball program because they're not, but an SEC program. He sounds like a good player. I think he can play center field, so maybe if Nemo gets a little older and has to move to left, looked fine there last night. We have some versatility in the outfield, some agility. Yeah. I like that.
This guy, he was the one that they compared to like a Lenny Dykstra potentially, right?
Yes, because you can look at a guy in 2023 and say, this reminds me of that cokehead in the 80s. He's 5'9", so it was like Lenny Dykstra and Brett Gardner were the two guys because he's fiery and short. So it straight up is like, if he was a running back, he'd be scrappy, if you know what I mean. Lefty, which kind of, I always think that always a little adds to the scrappiness. But again, if the Astros drafted him, he's fucking good enough for me. The reason he went 28, I believe, was because of the whole signability thing. The Astros said, we don't give a fuck. Little did they know, in like a year, Steve Cohen was going to come and say, I'm going to then cover the tab on that money, along with Justin Verlander's tab, to then get this guy, Drew Gilbert. And again,
this sounds like a guy that you hear the whispers about the Mets locker room maybe not being the greatest and stuff like that. This seems like the kind of guy that, at least if you're winning, is like a good kind of guy that might rub off on people because he's a fucking winner.
And I'll build a lineup like I do in MLB The Show. Just stack guys with lefties because their swings look better.
Yes, 100%. I like that, Phil.
So
anyone else?
Like I said, Christian Scott, 6 1/3, 1 hit Saturday night. Frank was at the game. Jeremiah Jackson, the guy we got for Dominic Leone, he hit a home run. Somehow we got a guy for Dominic Leone. I don't know how.
So, yeah, what's this guy's name? Jamison Johnson?
Wait, Jeremiah Jackson, I think.
Jeremiah Jackson. We have some fucking
Johnson.
names here. We have some fucking names. Jeremiah Johnson. Okay. Anything you get, this guy comes up and hits 1 home run for the New York Mets. Anything you got for Dominic Leone is an absolute win for me. If this guy never sees the light of day in Flushing, this guy is an absolute win for me. Christian Scott, I'm trying to think, like, is this going to be the guy I pin all my hopes and dreams on in terms of, like, the Mets, pitcher from the minors that ends up coming up and being able to perform for us? 2.67 ERA in AAA and in AA in 10 games. That's pretty good. 10.83 K per 9, which I like seeing. His advanced stats, FIP and XFIP, both looking good. All right, Philip. You can. I was pinning a lot of my hopes on Vassell. This guy's 6'4" too.
And you can say, you know what? We got Scott on the mound. You have a good chance of winning. That just sounds great.
It does. I think of Mike Scott because, he was like the boogeyman.
Exactly.
Whenever you hear the 86 World Series DVDs and shit, Mike Scott is the scariest motherfucker in that entire thing. They faced Clemens in the World Series. You didn't hear anything about a young Clemens. It was all about Mike Scott and scuffing the balls, and he was the straight up boogeyman. So Scott on the bump. All right, so I'm sold on that. I'm feeling good.
Ryan Clifford, the big red dog,
yes.
He had a home run Friday night. He has 20 home runs in the season.
Okay.
Maybe he's more of a 2025 guy, but like I said, the big red dog, that's a nickname. We start having the shirts drafted out now.
I mean, again, Portnoy's back in business with us. The t-shirt business is going to go back up. I saw he had a couple of his shirts out. I feel like we're going to be focusing a lot more on the shirts now than maybe the gambling side of things. So that's good to know, is that we have a potential guy a few years from now. Once I have to start thinking about college and stuff, we have a guy who's going to make us some money here. Ryan, the big dog Clifford. I just love.
And some guy named Brett Beatty's hitting home runs in Syracuse like he was back in April. So
okay. So I have to ask about Brett Beatty here. In your opinion, your professional opinion, and again, this is that you are the sickest fuck I know when it comes to baseball in general. DeMayo's the sickest fuck in terms of minor league baseball. You're the sickest fuck in general baseball. I say that obviously glowingly. Do you think Beatty is just beating up on lesser competition in AAA? Do you think it's maybe a pressure thing? Or do you think this whole thing where the hitting coach down in AAA is much more his speed and is?
I honestly think it's a hitting coach thing. It may be a difference between the competition in AAA is awful, but he's hitting less ground balls in AAA. So, in the major leagues, he looked uncomfortable. Everything being into the ground, not very confident swings. I do think it was more so coaching, and I think Jeremy Barnes has wasted a year of development for Beatty and Vientos and whoever else. Mm-hmm. So, honestly, I'll say this. I'll pin 80% of the blame on the season to Jeremy Barnes.
If that tweet comes out on a random October morning that no one's paying attention, Jeremy Barnes has been relieved from his duties with the New York Metropolitans. We wish him success, yada, yada, yada. That's going to feel like a win. And listen, that's just, if you were not here in 2022 and you were here in 2023, I probably don't like you because you are the reason that everything went to shit, because you were the one common denominator. You're a common denominator. You are not a common denominator from those 2 seasons and fucked everything up. I still cannot begin to explain what the fuck happened to David Peterson and Tyler McGill, though. They didn't even go get better when they went back to the minors too. No, Peterson did, right?
I really wouldn't say they're better. Still giving up a ton of base runners. In Dave Peterson's case, it's just the base runners aren't scoring as much, I guess. But
yeah,
I think his whip is still close to 2.
Fuck, god damn it. All right. So that's all the crops we have for today, Farmer Phil. That's all our prospects we can pin our hopes on in the future here.
And Jody Lucchese is rehabbing in Brooklyn for some reason. So
sure.
I liked him when he was up. I would have liked to have seen him more than Cookie, I guess, but
yeah, at this point, it's like, you might as well just keep all the bums in the rotation to get us to that top 6 tanking. There is a narrow runway right now. We're getting in the top 6, but also not losing 90 games. So Clemmer has to get his tattoo that I'm hoping the Mets can land on.
The thing that sucks is the draft lottery is until the winter meetings, which is in December. So they're not going to know where they're drafting until mid-December. Like they could have signed Ohtani Yamamoto by then, and they wouldn't know.
Now, if they finish in the bottom 6, though, they're assured top. Like they're assured they don't.
No, they're not. If you. Yeah, this is like the lottery balls thing. And look, the highest they can get, I think, is 5. Like in terms of like the highest, the worst record they can get is 5th worst because they're not catching the A's, the Royals, the White Sox, and I think the Rockies. But they can get 5th if they just lose enough games.
Those teams put in hard goddamn work to get into the position they're in.
And one thing that's to their advantage is the Nats can't get a top 6 pick, I believe, because of like some revenue sharing thing. So where the Nats finish, is not relevant to them at all.
Oh man, I love baseball. Just silly shit like that just popping up out of the blue. God bless fucking this stupid ass game. We always preview the series here. Well, we're not going to go too deep on the preview, but we have to because we have the New York Mets facing the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we happen to have the number 1 Pittsburgh Pirates fan in the world. But actually, no, excuse me, number 2. Nick Tarani is the number 1. And the only other guy I know who actually follows the Pittsburgh Pirates is our boy Meek Phil here. So,
well, O'Neal Cruz isn't playing since April, so that makes them more miserable to watch. They've been, I think the only teams in a series they've beaten since June is us and the Padres. So that's something. And we have the same record as the Pirates, which you probably wouldn't have expected all the way back in April.
It's funny. Back in April, you'd say the Mets are going to have a much better record at this time. And then like a month and a half ago, you'd be like, oh, the Pirates, they'll probably come in better than the Mets because they got off to that start. And nope, we're just lumped in together in the shit right now. I'm not even going to go through the pitching matchups. If you want SNY, listen to the radio. It's a
bunch of bad guys versus a bunch of bad guys.
Yeah, we have our 2 good guys are pitching in the St. Louis series. That's all you need to know. Quintana, Senga, pray for rain. That's our 2 guys. The other 3, Carrasco.
And the other good thing, Adam Wainwright, you cannot get win number 200 versus the Mets like you were trying to.
Yep, he was absolutely pitiful back in what was that? Was that June? I think it was June.
It was June when he got 198 versus us. Yeah, I think it was like 6 innings, 3 runs, and I said, he'll probably get number 200 versus us in August. He hasn't gotten 199 yet, so.
And it's not like he's been hurt. He's been just absolutely putrid. What was it, 1 inning, 8 earned on Sunday?
Yeah, versus the loaded Royals lineup. So
yeah. So he will get 199 against us. You could take that to the bank. I might actually responsibly bet the Cardinals winning that game right now. That was the other thing. I had people at Barstool the ballpark being like, I juiced. They're like, I would have bet Braves -7 if I could on like the adjustable line, and the most they could get was 3.5. So, and that was the game where it was 21-3. So, I almost feel like the Adam Wainwright stuff, 198, 199. It would be nice though, and this is just the salty Mets fan in me. It would be nice if he had to go fucking Mr. 3000 and just be Mr. 199, just stuck on there forever. Not the same as going 299 to 300, obviously, but man, I would just love that. It's just someone.
I think all he needed was like 5 wins this year.
And like, I'm sure like the Cardinals had to have given him enough run support to win a few of those games, but he just, couldn't do shit here. So, oh yeah. I mean, the Royals game the other day that he went 1 inning, it was 12-8 final. If he just goes out and throws anywhere, even like
5 innings, 6 runs, he'll probably wins that game.
Yep, exactly. So, oof. And he didn't. And there was a game they won 10-6, but he didn't get the win for that. And everything else, 15-2, 14-0, 9-1. So for everyone wishing and hating on Adam Wainwright and wishing for his demise, you're getting a little bit of that. Granted, it's way too little, too late. But that's coming up in the next series after this Pittsburgh series. Speaking of obscure ball clubs that we do not think about very often, let's do the grid to wrap up today's episode. I pulled it up. I haven't even looked to see who the teams are on there. Phil says we do have a chance for an all Mets grid. If
outside of like 3 squares, I believe.
I'm gonna call in Pabs here if he's around and wants to jump on. He's our fellow gridder if he's around. Pabs, how we doing, pal?
We're doing all right. I'm ready to grid.
All right, we're ready to grid. So for people listening, I don't know how this sounds like if you're listening on radio, but you can play along at home. We're on the top columns from left to right. Guardians, Nationals, 30-plus stolen base season. And then on the left row, the rows on the left, going from top to bottom, Yankees, Rays, 200-plus hits season batting. All right, Pavs, lead us off here.
Are we going to try to do all Mets? Because I definitely don't have a Met for the top left.
Do you have a Met at all for here that could fit into any of these grids that is a former New York Met?
Not that
If you don't, it's fine.
No. I'll start us off top left. I'm going to go CC Sabathia.
Yep. Okay. I like that one. That was what I was going to do. I'm going to say, let's see. What do you think the number is for CC for Guardians Yankees?
Probably like 40 something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say 52. 30.
Oh,
All
okay.
right. So that's not too bad. He had that little Brewers thing, and he kind of is a Yankee in people's minds, hence he's wearing the hat here. But I think he has become a Yankee. Philip, hit me with something nerdy, you sick fuck.
Yeah, I'll do a Met for this one. Yankee Nat, Tyler Clippard.
Oh, the Yankee Clippard, man. Oh, man. I'll tell you. Ooh, that's a nice looking. Look at that hat. I kind of dig that hat that Clippard's wearing in that Nats hat.
He was pretty good for us in like 18 innings when we got him. Then he was just unusable in the playoffs.
I was saying I have very mixed feelings of how my soul feels about Tyler Clippard, because I'm like, I feel like he was good, but then I feel like he was a problem for us for a lot of times too.
And then
so
Keith Law said that Keith Law basically thought it was the worst thing ever. We traded Casey Meisner for him, who never made the major league. So
okay, because I was gonna say, what did we give up for him? Casey Meisner was that
name's probably been erased from your memory since they traded for him.
Yes. I'm looking here. Let's see. Casey Meisner ended up with. Did he ever make the bigs? Never even made the bigs after all that. Jesus Christ. Clippard was a guy though. Like that's another last name where he felt like a Met guy where he was going to give up the big run, but that 2015 season was so magical and then ended up so badly. I can't put anything good or bad just on like one random reliever. I'm going to go 30-plus stolen base season for the Yankees. And I just want to use this guy, and he is a former Met. Phil, I guess this is like, I'm not going to tell you. Talk me out of it if you think I'm wrong here. Can I throw Ricky here?
Yes, you can.
Okay. That's Phil's my cheat code, basically. All right. I love Ricky. I think Ricky should be on every grid if you can use him. And I feel like his numbers are not usually too high, unless it's probably like A's stolen bases or something like that. Oh, 30%. God damn it.
Ricky Henderson probably stole at least 30 bases in every season. I want to say that.
That he shows up on my grid more than anybody else, I feel like. Him and Nolan Ryan are seem to be always on my grid.
Is that the case? I love to hear that, Pabs. I love to hear it the younger generation. Ricky Henderson. Okay, so Ricky Henderson did not steal 30 or more every year, but until his age 30, he was on two different teams. He did not steal below 25 bases until his year 43 season. That is fucking ridiculous. Because there's a lot of years
unbreakable.
Yeah, there's a lot of years here that are like combined years, so it's like hard to like put them all together. But just like first blood, I guess so. The strike shortened season, he had 20 and 87 games. He was getting there. So I guess full seasons, he has. Oh my God, yeah, 22. So yeah, basically 25 or more every single season of his career, and oh my God, man, Ricky Henderson's the fucking man. That's a whole other story for another time. Moving along in the grid, what do you got for me, Paz?
I actually believe I have a Met here. As Drupal Cabrera. Yeah.
Yes, right. Man, and
we got him from. He was a Ray when we signed him.
Bang!
Was he when we signed him? Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a good one. The ass man gets no fucking love.
I got a good one for this. This one may be like a 0.5%er. Rene Rivera.
Wow, Rene Rivera. every like 0.1%.
0.1.
That a boy, that a boy. And they're wearing the same hat as Tyler Clifford. God damn.
Yep.
I dig that fucking Nats hat. Rene Rivera, I'll fully admit there's been 1,000 Mets catchers that kind of like came up out of nowhere, had like that one magical game. You're like, all right, this is our long-term solution at catcher. Rene Rivera was one of those guys. Hand up. The most absurd one that was I think we all remember Omir Santos, right? You guys aren't too young for the Omir Santos game, are you? Against
I remember
Papelbon.
that well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pav, do you remember Omir Santos against Papelbon at the home run?
Does not ring a bell. No.
It was overturned on review when review was like still its like infancy stages.
Yeah,
You can only
that's
review
right.
home runs.
Oh, shit. Okay. I guess if we're going to keep doing this row, I go Rays 30-plus stolen base season. I'm very concerned about this.
I only have one name for this. I can't think of anybody else.
Give it to me, and we'll run it through our answer key. He'll tell us if it's right.
Carl Crawford.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's the most obvious answer.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like 40
He's gonna be
something.
really high. Yeah.
I'll go. He's going to be 64%. I'm going to say 44. All right.
44.
Yeah.
Carl Crawford, all-time bagman who just fucking like operation shut down at one point. That was an unbelievable saga to watch unfold. Okay, here. So now we go Guardians, Nationals, and 30-plus season who get 200 hits in a season. Now, this is tricky. Like, Ricky Henderson's a guy. You see that hits, and you're like, this guy was on base. No. Never had 200 hits in a season. So I'm just letting everyone know that for the future, because I fell into the Ricky Henderson trap. The man had a great eye, get on base with the walk, kind of little Barry Bonds in him like that too. So don't be throwing Ricky around if you didn't throw him in for the Yankees there. 200 plus hits season for the Guardians. Is there a Met here?
I don't think there is.
Jeff Kent. I don't know. Well, Jeff Kent didn't do another guard with the Indians back then. Lindor didn't do it, I imagine.
You'd have to think like older-ish players.
Yeah. Who do you got, Phil?
Just go with the guy that has the record for them, Shoeless Joe Jackson.
There.
From like the
Yes.
1900s.
I use Walter
Like, I've been
Johnson.
shoeless.
Trying to
Joe.
be shoeless? No
Yeah.
way. Wow. I kind of love that, actually. That happened to the dozen last week where I'm the one, the apostrophe didn't work. And I'm like, I know that's the name of the Justin Bieber song. And I felt so fucking old that I wasn't doing it right. I think it was a bug, which, Jeff D-Lo did not sleep a wink that night because there was a bug on iPhones only, he said. Shoeless Joe, 3%, man. The fucking kids these days just don't respect their elders, I'll tell you.
Yeah, he actually cheated. He threw a World Series for the White Sox.
There's a
Well,
whole
not the White
goddamn
Sox.
movie about the
Yeah.
man.
Exactly.
All right, where do you guys stand on Field of Dreams? Is it like top 5 baseball movie, top 10? Or are we Field of Dreams fans on the pod? Is there anyone who hasn't seen Field of Dreams? Pavs, what about you?
I think I'm gonna go one crazy, but Moneyball is probably my favorite. I've probably seen it the most. but Field
I
of
think
Dreams-
Moneyball sucks.
Really? I could see you hating that movie.
One, it ruined the way people look at baseball now because now everyone wants to be a dollar per war guy because they look at Moneyball. And two, it's like that whole movie left out the fact they had like the greatest rotation in the league.
Yes. Learning that after kind of ruined the movie for me a little bit, but I still go back and watch it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it even though I know exactly it sounds like such a juicy thing to say, but I read the book when it first came out. I loved it, and the movie was not as good as the book. Partially because like with Phil, I'm like, they had Tim fucking Hudson and Barry Zito, and was Mulder on that team?
Miguel Tejada was on that team.
Miguel
Like MVP. No.
And Miguel Tejada is another guy here who just is like a 10%er in these grids, and I'm like, man, do you guys not remember how fucking awesome Miguel Tejada was? 200
You
plus.
think Chad Bradford was like one of the greatest relievers of all time?
Yeah, exactly. And again, that goes my thing. Submariners from the left hand and right hand, and those guys shut the teams down. Granted, the minimum rule is kind of throw things off in terms of with relief pitchers, but I used to love having guys like that. We don't have guys like that this year, and we stink. Phil, are you a fucking Field of Dreams guy or no? You have to be a Field of Dreams
I think
guy.
it's a good movie. I wouldn't say
like,
top 5-ish, but I think it's good.
You're like, Moonlight Graham's War wouldn't have been that good. He was too small. It would have never lasted a whole season.
What is your favorite baseball movie, Phil?
The fact there's not an auto answer here is kind of.
I'd probably say The Sandlot. No, I'd say The Sandlot.
Okay, that's fair. I don't like how The Sandlot is starting to have a lot of that internet stuff where people turn on it because people have loved it for so long. I think The Sandlot's tremendous. It's still all the fucking high points play, the fireworks scene, pickling the beast, everything about it. I love this.
It's not a baseball movie, but my favorite sports movie in general is Space Jam. Just the one with Michael Jordan.
Really? Wow.
I can watch that like anytime.
My favorite sports movie is my favorite baseball movie, and I honestly don't think it's even close. I think Major League is so far and away the best sports movie because it's perfectly raunchy enough. They stay pretty accurate in terms of the way that the standings and the pennant and all that stuff worked back in fucking like 1989. Great movie, great cast. It all fucking plays.
And now the Oakland A's are replicating exactly what that movie did.
Exactly. It called their shot on the Oakland A's, more than 20 years beforehand. Washington Nationals 200 plus hits season. Now we could throw the Expos in here too, which I always love about the Nationals. I love being able to throw some Expos in there. I don't know how many would have 200 plus hit seasons though.
Vlad's the obvious one.
Yeah. Vlad's the obvious one. Every time you could throw Vladimir Guerrero on the fucking grid, do it because he was the man. If you don't know about Vladdy Guerrero, fucking go watch the YouTubes of him. He was even more awesome in person. Wow, 83%. So when Vladdy gets some love, all right, good to know Vladdy's still name rings out in the streets. And then finally, 200 plus hit season and 30 plus stolen base season. Another guy I usually throw on here, and he had to have 30 plus steals. Ichiro? Did Ichiro have 30 plus steals?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. And anytime there's a hits thing, I'm throwing Ichiro out there. To our friends in the Far East, we are going to be the team of the National League Far East if Billy Epler and Steve Cohen can make it happen. Boom, immaculate. Rarity score 244. Did you see that Simmons tweet the other day where he's like, look at this rarity score of 325 or something? And I was like, dude, that's fucking terrible.
I don't think I can get a 325 if I tried.
Yeah, Bill like blanking on guys who have like an 80% percentage. And
you can give me like Yankees Met, and I'll be like, damn, Darryl Strawberry's that higher?
Yeah, give me Mike Stanton the reliever. I'll take that guy. Oh my goodness Christ. Okay, so 244. We'll see if we can beat that on the next episode coming on Thursday. We'll see what the Mets give us. 3 games in Pittsburgh. Probably would have been like a consolable event if we had bought at the deadline. We probably would have lost 2 or 3 and been like, man, I really wish we sold. But luckily we did. The future is bright, as Farmer Phil told us. Gotta believe.
Gotta believe.
Gotta believe.